Hello, fellow collectors. I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art, coming to you from the warehouse today with the distinguished. Look at that hair. Oh, he's got such good hair. I don't. Mark McNabb. Now, Mark has had a very, how should we say it? A very versatile career in comics as a creator, and you've worked with some of the, legends of the game, like Mr. Kubert himself.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's Joe. And I'm one of the graduates from Joe Kubert School.
Were you like in the early class?
I was graduated in 1985. So I wasn't from the very first, second class, but I was there, graduated right after Andy and Adam Kubert. They graduated a year before, but I was with Bart Sears, Mark Pennington. There's a group there of guys that all work together. And the school changes lives. Before that, I was degree in science at Ohio State, bachelor's of science, and then I was graduate school in education.
Wow, so what were you, about in your late 20s when you
I was
finally
22.
went there?
I was 22 when I started.
And I was early 20s still.
Yeah, but you kind of feel like the old man because everyone else seemed to be 18, 19 years old.
Well, my son's there now. He's in his third year at Jameson, and when I go to visit him, I see people, in their late 20s, early 30s that are deciding that they want to try to get a start as a comics creator, and that's cool. I like that in the way that, hey, you've really decided that this is what you wanted to try to apply yourself to,
And then when you get in there, you work yourself to the bone because you're basically competing against yourself, along with the rest of the people out there already having jobs.
Yeah.
And you pick up everything you can and do everything you can. And going to school there, I worked harder at the school than I did in graduate school at Ohio State University. And
in Columbus, huh?
Yeah.
I have a ton of relatives in Columbus. My dad was originally from Steubenville, not far away.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, go Buckeyes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a real turning point. And then after graduating there, I worked in studios. And then eventually Joe tapped me on the shoulder to come work with him for a while. I worked with him a couple years, being art director of the studio that he had in-house there.
In the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Now, did he still do a lot of stuff for the Army back then still? Or the military situation?
That PS magazine?
Had that faded away?
That had faded away at the moment. I think they're back with that now because the studio is still running. But back then...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Back then, we were doing different stuff. We were doing some merchandise. We were doing advertising. And we would do comic-related projects. We actually restarted Mutt and Jeff, the old comic strip series. And we had a bunch of those we did up and then took them around and shopped them around and never sold. But we had a whole series of Mutt and Jeff, the old newspaper strip.
Yeah, that was from the 30s, 40s.
So I worked with him for about 2 years and then went off on my own. And from then, that was 1989, worked on my own from, you name it, comic coloring with Marvel.
Yeah, let's touch on that because that is a deal that we did where you sold me a lot of your actual color art.
Yeah.
It's not just color guides, folks. It's color art. There's color guides and there's color art, and that's those sort of mini posters that you helped start.
Yes.
Well, you art directed those as well. Those box covers.
Yeah. At that time, I ended
trading cards stuff.
I had a couple guys working for me, and we worked on all types of merchandise besides comic books themselves. At that time, I was working on a lot of covers for Marvel Comics, plus doing merchandise that was everything from trading cards to T-shirts, which sell for a lot of money on eBay now, to...
this is that early 90s period.
Yeah, early 90s.
Yeah.
And then also we were dealing with Wizard magazine at the time, working with the first 3 years of Wizard magazine. So we had our hands full, and we really produced a lot of product.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was.
And then okay, so the 90s kind of runs its course.
Yes.
In the comics business, and there was an implosion there.
Yep.
How did you adjust in that period?
The guys that worked for me went off, and went on with further careers in art. And I ended up working for myself. And it was nicer because then I could travel. The age of the computer came along. I think first computer for me was in 1994.
Sure, yeah.
And then everything switched over slowly to computers. And then when laptops came along, that's where I really got some independence, and I can work from anywhere. I can sit in a car and work. I've worked in hotels all the way across the country.
And this is mostly with art direction and color art.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's with the comic book field. I'm still working in it. There's a Kingstone Comics that puts out educational and Bible type stories. So I'm still involved in that, and I'm still involved in merchandise or packaging, product design. Still out there whenever something is needed. I'm still doing it.
Yeah, still doing it.
McNabbstudios.com.
Yeah,
that's where you can
freelance art director.
Yeah.
And tell me about this piece.
Well, this piece,
you know, this is an anniversary of Joe's birthday. I follow Adam on Instagram, and he's been posting some, nice stories and reflections about his father. And you had a chance to work with him professionally.
Yeah.
And tell us your
well, that piece there.
That.
He always in class he would do like a demonstration. Once in a while he'd do a demonstration, but and then he would just leave the art go. And that was just a piece that I was lucky enough to ask him, hey, what are you going to do with it? And he just shrugged his shoulders. And I asked him if I could have it. And he's like, sure. It's not signed, but it's a real memorable piece because just the ease of which he took the pterodactyl and just laid it out, added color to it and form, highlights, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, I like it.
That's one thing I was always appreciative of that. And, his skills.
Now, was that when you were working for him or when you were a student?
This was when I was a student. This is 1984.
Oh, okay. So that's older.
When I was working for him, he was the boss and I was just an employee. And, but yeah, when I left there, Andy and Adam took over my studio and used it for their own studios for a few years. And it was always good to go back and visit.
Yeah, it's fun to walk through there. There is still some leftover stuff from that age. Anthony, that I'm friendly with, Marquez, that took over the school. Okay. He's applied himself to really improving and making the place a contemporary and current school.
Yeah.
That has a focus.
Yeah.
That focus had been kind of lost in the past few years. So it was good that it was that the passing of the guard did happen, and that Andy and Adam went on to do what they wanted.
Yeah.
This guy's heart is really into it and improving the school and making it a good experience and a productive environment for the young artists.
Yes.
So.
All right.
That's what I got to say about that. So thanks for taking a few minutes with me, Mr. McNabb, and talking about your career in comics and telling us the story about the Joe Kubert dinosaur. That's always fun. I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art. You keep calm, keep collecting, and look, if you're ever in any sort of art direction or color, what do you call it?
Color comic book coloring.
Uh-huh. Got it.
Yeah, just go to McNabbstudios.com.